The history of the United States is a complex tapestry of diverse peoples, cultures, and interactions. Among the many stories that remain relatively unknown is that of the Black Indians of Utah. These individuals, whose heritage encompassed both African and Native American roots, represent a unique and often overlooked segment of the population that played a vital role in the shaping of the region. Their story is one of survival, adaptation, resistance, and resilience in the face of social, political, and environmental challenges. The Black Indians of Utah not only reflect the dynamic interactions between African Americans and Native Americans, but also embody the broader historical experiences of race, identity, and migration in the American West. To understand the history of the Black Indians of Utah, it is necessary to first explore the broader context of African and Native American interactions in the United States. For centuries, African Americans and Native Americans have shared a complex relationship marked by alliances, intermarriage, and mutual influence, as well as tension and conflict. The earliest interactions between these two groups can be traced back to the colonial era when African slaves were first brought to North America. As European settlers expanded westward, enslaved Africans often encountered indigenous peoples, leading to a variety of relationships that range from cooperation and solidarity to exploitation and subjugation. The forced migration of African slaves to the Americas brought them into contact with Native American tribes, particularly in the southeastern United States. Some Native American groups, such as the Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Chickasaw, and Seminole, integrated Africans into their societies, either through intermarriage or the adoption of runaway slaves seeking refuge from their European captors. These alliances were often strategic, with both African Americans and Native Americans seeking to resist the encroachments of European settlers and their colonial governments. However, the dynamics between these groups were not always equitable. Some Native American tribes also participated in the institution of slavery, either by capturing African slaves or by holding African Americans as slaves themselves. By the time the United States acquired the Utah Territory in the mid-19th century, the interplay of African and Native American identities had already been well established in other parts of the country. The westward expansion of European settlers, spurred by events such as the California Gold Rush, the construction of railroads, and the establishment of the Mormon Church, led to increased migration into the Utah region. This period of westward expansion created new opportunities for interaction between African Americans and Native American tribes in the area, including the Ute, Shoshone, Goshute, and Paiute peoples. The arrival of African Americans in Utah was largely driven by the westward migration of settlers following the establishment of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church. The first African Americans to arrive in Utah were primarily slaves who accompanied their white Mormon owners in the 1840s and 1850s. Despite the fact that Utah was not officially a slave-holding territory, the practice of slavery persisted in the region, particularly among the Mormon settlers. This created a complicated social dynamic, with African Americans existing as both free and enslaved individuals within a predominantly white, Mormon-dominated society. In addition to enslaved African Americans, there were also free blacks who came to Utah seeking economic opportunities and a chance to escape the systemic racism of the eastern United States. Many African Americans found work as laborers, miners, and cowboys, while others established small businesses or worked on the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. These early African American settlers formed a small but resilient community, often working alongside Native Americans and other ethnic minorities in the region. The arrival of African Americans in Utah coincided with a period of significant upheaval for Native American tribes in the area. The westward expansion of white settlers and the establishment of Mormon settlements led to the displacement of many Native American groups, particularly the Ute and Shoshone peoples. As these indigenous groups were pushed off their ancestral lands, they were forced to adapt to new economic and social realities, often coming into contact with African Americans in the process. These interactions, while not always harmonious, laid the foundation for the emergence of a distinct Black Indian population in Utah. The formation of Black Indian communities in Utah was the result of a variety of factors, including intermarriage, shared experiences of marginalization, and the blending of African American and Native American cultural practices. One of the key factors that facilitated the development of these communities was the intermarriage between African American men and Native American women. Many African American men who came to Utah as laborers, cowboys, or miners found themselves living in close proximity to Native American tribes. In some cases, these men formed relationships with Native American women, leading to the establishment of mixed-race families and communities. These unions were often driven by practical considerations. African American men in Utah faced significant racial discrimination and social isolation, making it difficult for them to find spouses within the white settler community. Similarly, Native American women, whose tribes had been displaced by white settlers, often found themselves in precarious social and economic situations. Intermarriage between African American men and Native American women provided both groups with a degree of mutual support and protection, as well as a means of navigating the hostile social and political environment of the time. The children of these mixed-race unions, often referred to as Black Indians, inherited a complex and multifaceted identity that encompassed elements of both African American and Native American cultures. These individuals grew up learning the traditions, languages, and customs of both sides of their heritage, creating a unique cultural fusion that set them apart from both their African American and Native American relatives. The Black Indians of Utah developed their own distinct communities, often living on the fringes of both African American and Native American societies. One of the defining features of the Black Indian experience in Utah was a struggle to maintain a sense of cultural identity in the face of social, political, and economic challenges. Both African Americans and Native Americans were subjected to systemic discrimination and marginalization by the dominant white society, and the Black Indians of Utah often found themselves caught between these two worlds. They were frequently excluded from both African American and Native American communities, as their mixed-race heritage made them outsiders in both groups. Despite these challenges, the Black Indians of Utah managed to preserve and adapt their cultural traditions, drawing on the rich heritage of both African and Native American practices. This cultural blending was evident in many aspects of their lives, including their language, religion, and social customs. For example, some Black Indian communities practiced a form of spirituality that combined elements of Native American animism and African religious traditions, creating a syncretic belief system that reflected their dual heritage. In addition to their cultural practices, the Black Indians of Utah also engaged in acts of resistance against the social and political forces that sought to marginalize them. Both African Americans and Native Americans in Utah faced significant pressure from the federal government, particularly in the form of land dispossession and forced assimilation policies. The Black Indians of Utah, drawing on their shared experiences of resistance and resilience, fought to maintain their autonomy and preserve their way of life. One of the key ways in which the Black Indians of Utah resisted assimilation was through their continued connection to the land. Many Black Indian communities lived in rural areas, often on the outskirts of Native American reservations or in isolated mountain regions. These communities relied on traditional agricultural practices, hunting, and fishing to sustain themselves, and their connection to the land was a central part of their cultural identity. In this way, the Black Indians of Utah not only preserved their cultural heritage, but also resisted the encroachments of white settlers and the federal government. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Black Indian communities of Utah began to experience a decline, largely as a result of the broader forces of modernization, assimilation, and racial segregation. The expansion of the railroad, the establishment of reservations, and the implementation of federal assimilation policies all contributed to the erosion of traditional Black Indian communities. Many individuals of mixed African American and Native American heritage were forced to choose between identifying as African American or Native American, as the legal and social systems of the time did not recognize their dual heritage. The legacy of the Black Indians of Utah, however, continues to endure. Their story is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of marginalized peoples in the face of overwhelming odds. Today, many individuals in Utah and other parts of the American West can trace their ancestry to these mixed-race communities, and their cultural contributions have left a lasting impact on the region. The history of the Black Indians of Utah serves as a reminder of the complex and interconnected nature of American identity and the importance of recognizing the diverse experiences that have shaped the nation's past. The Black Indians of Utah represent a forgotten chapter in American history, one that highlights the complex interactions between African Americans, Native Americans, and European settlers in the American West. Their story is one of survival, resistance, and cultural fusion, as they navigated the challenges of racial discrimination, land dispossession, and social marginalization. Despite the decline of their communities, the legacy of the Black Indians of Utah continues to resonate, offering valuable insights into the broader themes of race, identity, and migration in American history.